Better than anyone on the right, Rush Limbaugh knows not to bother denying that von Brunn's rhetoric sounds a lot like Rush Limbaugh's. President Obama is a puppet of others, the government is enemy, somebody coming to take your guns. Instead, today, Limbaugh and other right-wing radio hosts chose an entirely different tack. Offense, in both senses, blaming liberals for von Brunn until slipping 15 minutes later and contradicting his own claim about the left's influence.
He hated both Bushes. He hated neocons. He hated John McCain. He hated Republicans. He hated Jews as well. He believed in an inside job conspiracy of 9/11. This guy is a leftist, if anything. This guy's beliefs, this guy's hate stems from influence that you find on the left, not on the right. They want turmoil. And if it doesn't exist, they create it. Now, this Jew hater who killed yesterday was a nut. I doubt that he was influenced by anything other than his own mental illness.
Except we know von Brunn's influences. He even lists his character shapers on his website. Quote, in 1964, General Pedro del Valle gave me John Obiete's The Iron Curtain Over America. For the first time, I learned how Jews had destroyed Europe and were now destroying America. General del Valle was a Republican. Quote, General del Valle recommended that I be given a position with Noontide Press. Noontide publishes right-wing books. Willis Carto was its founder, he wrote. Willis Carto, a right-wing Holocaust denier, whose Liberty lobby hosted speakers such as Phyllis Schlafly, Republican. Talking Points memo reports that von Brunn switched his website domain on June 1st to a man who shares a phone number with a woman who is listed as a Michigan coordinator for former presidential candidate Ron Paul, who is at least nominally a Republican. Von Brunn himself posted on the Republican website Free Republic, spouting the right-wing claim that Obama's birth certificate was forged, defending President Bush against Dan Rather, and claiming the media had tried to destroy Sarah Palin. From his own website, right-wing websites illuminate the problems that Aryans face. Each day, new alarms are sounded, adding more fuel to the raging fire. The right wing does nothing but talk, no plan of action against the well-known enemy. Exactly the advice Marxists, liberals, Jews want to hear. Even a kid in grade school knows when it's time to get his knuckles bloody. Time now to bring in MSNBC political analyst Eugene Robinson, associate editor and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist of The Washington Post. Gene, good evening.
Evening to you, Keith.
First, let me just acknowledge the obvious. You're a black man. You work in the media. You work specifically at the Washington Post, and the Post reportedly was mentioned in these documents connected with this man, von Brunn. What is your response as somebody who is apparently 3 times an enemy of this man?
You know, the flip response is that, well, gee, all I need to do is convert to Judaism now, and I can make it 4 for 4. But seriously, you know that these people are out there, and occasionally you hear from somebody who is spouting just vile rhetoric and is clearly just filled with with anger. Usually, I think it's fortunately non-specific. So you kind of know that this is out there, and yet when something like this happens, it certainly makes you think about it. And just today, I was thinking about a voicemail that I got earlier in the week from one of these people, again, non-specific, anonymous, yet with this incredible anger in the tone and in the awful language that he used. Racial and other slurs, you think about those and you wonder, well, maybe you should pass a few more of those off to security.
Yeah, you said non-specific. In this case, what makes this case leap out is the specificity. This man listed what he called character shapers on his website, and this is not, idiocy or a guy just stringing together obscenities. This is a well-written, kind of coherent roadmap of his education politically. There's a chronicle in here of 6 decades of the American right wing. Have we seen before an explicit indictment of the extreme right provided by somebody who took that sort of final fatal step on its behalf?
Not that I can recall, actually, and not one that is, as you said, as well written. These guys tend not to be that coherent in terms of putting their ideology, such as it is, down on paper. But von Brunn was, and nobody would claim that he was a mainstream Republican who would show up at the convention or something like that, or work precincts for a candidate. But the idea that somehow his ideology, his ideas, his warped sense of the world is in any remote way related to anything you've ever heard from the left is just incredible. It's just an incredibly, not just lame, but almost insane thing to say.
Yeah, no, I went further. You say almost. I said that was an insane thing to say. But let's back to the first guilty party here. What von Brunn seemed to have picked up, not so much the political positions, pro-guns or whatever, but the overall tenor. That urgency to it, the right-wing suggestion that these are anvils upon which something essential about America will either live or die, depending on what you personally do, the generic you. Does that element of the right wing seem to be the pivot here, that von Brunn felt obliged to act because he had been convinced or been led to believe that his country, his version of this country, is in danger?
It could be. I think that's an interesting and I think correct way to look at it, because in these cases you get the sense of people feeling there's an urgent danger of losing America. Now, it's the America they think we're about to lose is an America that never was. It's an America where the Constitution prohibits an income tax, and that we're on the gold standard, I guess, and there's no Federal Reserve Bank, and on and on. But the anger does seem to spring from the sense of emergency, and this odd sense that our elected officials, for example, a president who comfortably won the popular vote and won a landslide of the electoral vote, Democrats in Congress who increased their majorities by popular vote, popular will, that our elected officials are somehow taking the people's will out of their hands or not representing that will when it was clearly expressed. So this is an undemocratic ideology in every sense of the word.
I, by the way, completely concur with you that there'd be no mistaking this man who did this for a rank-and-file Republican, and any impression that would have been left that way is wrong. Having said that, about Republicans and the humoring and embracing of the right-wing sideshow freaks who claim America is in danger in this way, leading to this as the most extreme example of that. Is there a way for them to continue to do this without essentially spitting on the memory of the Museum Guard or the Jewish groups or just the people who were not harmed and were psychologically damaged yesterday? Or is this the moment at which somebody in the Republican Party has to stand up and go, you do not have anything to do with us and we will have nothing to do with you?
I don't think it'll happen quite that way. What I hope is that they reflect on how this happened, on as far as we know what happened, and reflect on the power of words and how they are used and what influence they have. Who knows what influence this guy? This guy was around the bend when you and I were, in diapers, apparently. But I worry about others out there who are listening to, on the radio over and over. They're coming to take your guns. They're going to destroy the country. I worry about what impact this may be having on the next lone wolf who's not yet begun to howl.
And the final irony is that Stephen Johns was opening the door open to a man who we thought needed help and lost his life in doing so. Gene Robinson of the Washington Post and also of MSNBC, as always, Gene, especially in this case. Great thanks.
Good to be here, Keith.